In this video we're going to learn how to create a pop-up window or a modal box. Modal box is also called a dialog box. So when a user clicks on an element, then there should be a pop-up window that should appear, and we can achieve that using JavaScript, and this is what we're going to learn in this video. In the previous video we had learned how to create a pop-up boxes, but in this video we're going to learn how to create pop-ups so that when the user clicks on the element, there should be a pop-up that it should open, and everything else in the background should fade out. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. So this is very similar to the previous video code, however there are some bit changes, so that's why I'm telling you from scratch. Okay, so we have a div with a class of element, and then we have a span tag with a text called element, and then inside of that, next to that, inside of the element container, we have another div which is going to be used as a pop-up. So what we want to achieve is that when the user clicks on this element, then or anywhere inside of this particular div, then there should be a pop-up that should open, and this div will take care of the pop-up. So this div will be used as a pop-up window, and which will have a pop-up text and all the content that you want to put inside of that window, pop-up window. You can put it over here, and then it's got a class of pop-up element and then ID of my pop-up. Okay, so this is your index.php file. You need some more files as well. For example, you should create javascript.js file, and then style.css file, and then you can download a library of jQuery, and you use that in jQuery min.js, and you should include that using the script tag. We've included jQuery min.js, which is this file, and then we've also included the JavaScript file, which is javascript.js, which is our custom JavaScript file where we're going to write all the custom functions for JavaScript. Okay, all of these codes will be available to you in the link below, so you can click on the link, go on GitHub and get all of this. So don't worry about writing all of this for now. You can always take the code from there. Okay, now in the JavaScript file, what we're doing over here, we're getting hold of the element. Before we even continue talking about the JavaScript file, let's see how the content looks like into our site. So you can see that this is how it looks like. We have the body tag. Inside of that we have a div with a class of element, and then we have the span element, and then we have another div which is the which is going to be used for the pop-up window. Okay, now let's write some CSS as well. So I've written the CSS already to save time, so we're going to write some CSS for the element. So go into our CSS file. Okay, so we've given some padding. Let's get rid of this position for now. Okay, so we've given some padding, we've given some margin, we've given user select property none, which means the user will not be able to select this. For now, for example, right now if I double click on it, this whole element is getting selected, so that won't be possible once you define this user select property and put that value to none. Then we've given it a border, display inline block, cursor, pointer. So if the user hovers over it, there'll be a pointer cursor. Okay, so that's what I've given to the elements. Let's do that. You can see this is how it looks like, and we've got a cursor pointer, and now I'm not able to select the element. Okay, for the pop-up element div, which means the this one, which is going to be a pop-up basically. So this whole element out here is going to pop up once we create that option. So let's give some styling to that as well. Okay, so in that, let's get rid of this position. So we've given the visibility to hidden for this element. So you can see that this element is hidden now. It's no longer there. Okay, and display to block. Let's get rid of this z-index for now. We don't need that. And I think we don't even need the left and bottom property for now. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so we get some width, height, padding, font size, text align, background, color, box shadow, all of that to that. So in fact, if I don't hide it, I just want to show that to you how it looks like for now. So this is how it looks like. It's, you know, it's kind of pop-up window with a you know, the the width and height, and we've got the text align to center, and we've got some box shadow as well for this element. Okay, we can also give it a border if you want, so it's visible. Border 1 pixel solid. I can give it color. So you can see this is how it looks like. This is how the pop-up window looks like, and it's inside of this element div. Okay, and you have the element, and then you have the pop-up window. Okay, great. So let's hide it for now, because we want to show it only when this element is clicked. Okay, so we've hidden that. Cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the position to absolute. So when you set the element's position to absolute, that element that right over here, this one is going to leave the DOM natural page flow, and it's just going to hang out somewhere. Okay, so let's do that. If you refresh the page, as you can see that that element is gone. It's somewhere here now. It's left the DOM. Okay, so that element has left the DOM now, and we want to set the position of the pop-up element in relation to this element. So we're going to set the position of the element which is the container element to relative. Okay, so the reason why we're doing this, so that we can go ahead and set the you know, top and left position of this pop-up element in relation to the element container. Okay, so let's go ahead and set some top and left and bottom position for our pop-up element. So I've set the left and bottom to 0, and let's see how it looks like. In fact, let's show the element so it's visible to us. So as you can see that, you know, it's over here now. Okay, so we've set the bottom and left position to 0, so you can see that this is over here now. You can always change the position depending on where you want the pop-up. You know, if you want it in the center, you can give it to left or bottom position. You can change the position depending on where you want it. So this video is not about the position of where it lands, it's just to create the functionality of the pop-up window. Okay, so you can just put it wherever you want. Okay, great. So so let's give it left and bottom of this. Okay, let's keep it 0 for now. Okay, and let's hide it. Okay, we want this to be hidden. Okay, now we're going to go into JavaScript file and put this in action. So what we're doing over here, we're getting hold of the element which is this container. Okay, using the document.query selector, and we are holding that into a variable called element, and then we also get element, and we're also getting hold of the pop-up window pop-up element which with the ID of my pop-up, get element by ID. So you can see that this is the ID. Okay, we're getting hold of this element, and we're holding it inside of the pop-up element variable, and then we are putting an event on this particular container. Okay, we're saying that whenever this element is clicked, okay, then go ahead and toggle the class of show. Now what is this show? What we want to do is basically we want to show this particular pop-up when that element is clicked, when this div is clicked. So we're going to add a class of show, and the job of that class show is basically nothing but to make the pop-up window visible. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a class of show, and we set the visibility to visible. So earlier it was not visible because the visibility was hidden, but when that element is clicked, then it will become visible. So now if you check, so pop element dot classlist dot toggle. Toggle means that if it has a class of show, then remove it, and if it doesn't, then add the class, which means if it was hidden, then show it. If it wasn't, if it is hidden, then show it, and if it was shown, then hide it. So let's try. So you can see that it's visible. If I click it back, it's gone. So notice what is happening over here. When I click it, it's got a class of show. When I click back, it's gone. The reason why, you know, ideally it should happen on when the element is clicked, because that's what the the condition we put in, we've put an event to the element, which is the whole container. That is why, because this particular pop-up resides within this container element, which is why even if you click on this particular pop-up, the same thing is happening, because this pop-up is residing inside of the element, so it's a part of the element. That's why if you, whether you click on element or you click on the pop-up element, which is this, it's doing the same thing. Okay, so that's what is happening over here, but that's not what really want to that's not just that we really want to achieve. We want to achieve more. What we want to do is basically, when this element is clicked, when the pop-up comes in, everything else behind this scenes, which is the background of the whole body, should change its color to be faded. So we can do that, if we want. We can just say body dot class list. In fact, we can just say document dot body dot class list dot toggle, and then we can create a class of background color, and probably we can set that background color to some faded color. And if you can see that, I can just increase the font. Okay, background, let's keep it like this color. So you can see that the background has gone to almost gray, so it shows like it's a pop-up. Put it back and it's back on. So this is pretty much easy to do it, but the problem is that if we do this, there could be some element inside of the div in future, or when you're working on a project which has got a higher Z index, so that element will show as a pop-up over here as well. So I'll show you what I mean. So let's say just before this this div, which is the element div, okay, we create another div and give it a style with the Z index of 1, background, padding, display and color, all of this property. Okay, if we do that, if we add a div with a higher Z index, see what's going to happen. Okay, so see what is happening over here. If I click on this element, everything is being faded out, but not this button. Why? Is because inside of the body, this element has got a higher Z index. If I take the Z index off, then also it is creating a problem, right? So to fix this issue, what we really want to do, how do we go ahead and make everything faded except this pop-up window? For that, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add an element just before this div, and we're going to give it a faded background and a higher Z index as compared to our pop-up window. So I'll show you how we do that. So I've written the codes already, so to save time, I'm going to show that to you. So I'll tell you how to create that. So inside of this event listener, we can add some more codes like this. Oh, sorry. Might have to copy it once again. Okay, so let's see what we're doing over here. Okay, so we have created a variable called shadow div to get hold of the div element with the class of shadow div as in when it's created. Okay, and then we are also checking some condition over here. So ignore this these two line of in fact you can't ignore it. Okay, that's fine. So we've got a variable is shadow div. We've set a variable and we're saying that if the body element has the class of shadow div, which means go ahead and find a div element inside of the body which has a class of shadow div. If so, which means that if shadow div element exists, we're checking the condition over here. If it exists, then remove it. Otherwise, go ahead and add it. Okay. So over here, what we're doing is we are inserting this shadow div element before your div with the class of elements. So we want to insert that div before this div. Okay, so that's what we're doing in the JavaScript file. Okay, we're checking if that element exists, then remove it. If it doesn't, then go ahead and add that element, insert that element. Okay, and then we're also adding some more conditions. We are saying that when this shadow div element is clicked, so when the shadow div element, whenever it comes into DOM, whenever it's clicked, then go ahead and call this function, and this function will go ahead and remove that shadow div, and also go ahead and show remove the class of show from the pop-up, so that the pop-up goes away and we are back to our screen, normal screen. Okay, so let's see, let's refresh the page, and now if I go ahead and click on that, in fact, what I really need to do is basically add some styles as well to this shadow div. We haven't done that so far. So you're gonna go over here. Let's get rid of this background color. We don't need that. Let's get rid of this code. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So we've given the background color of black, and we've set the opacity to 0.7 for this shadow div. Whenever it comes in DOM, we've set the position to fixed, top, right, bottom, left to 0, and cursor to pointer. And what we're doing now is that we are saying that the z index of the shadow div will be 998, and we'll set the z index of our pop-up element to 999. So what's going to happen is that our pop-up element will sit on top of this shadow div. Okay, so which is why our pop-up window will appear higher on the DOM layout, and that's will fix the problem because the button has a z index of 1. Okay, so it'll go behind, then comes our shadow div with z index of 998, and then comes our, so shadow div is going to hide, basically come sit on top of our button. Okay, and the pop-up window will have a higher z index as compared to our shadow div. So see, that will fix the problem. So let's see, if I click on that now, you can see that it's gone behind. So now it actually looks like a pop-up. Yeah, refresh the page, click on it, you can see what a pop-up. So you can see that. So what's happening over here is that the moment you click on the element, it comes in the DOM. So notice what's happening over here. When you click on the element, which is the element div, that shadow div is created and inserted before the element, and because this shadow div has a higher z index as compared to the button div, okay, which is why it's sitting on top of that and creating an illusion of a background to be dull. Okay, and because the pop-up element has now got a z index higher than our shadow element, so the shadow element has got 998 and the pop-up window has got 999, the pop-up window is sitting on top of the shadow element in the DOM page natural flow. Okay, and that's what's happening over here. That is what we're doing in the JavaScript file. We are saying that when the element is clicked, which means when this particular element is clicked, this div, okay, then the first thing you do is you toggle the class of show to the pop-up element, which means that if it was hidden, go ahead and show it. So currently it's hidden, you can see that it's hidden over here, then go ahead and show that. So when you click it, it's shown now. Yeah, the show class is added. Okay, and then also check, look for the shadow div if it exists. So does it exist? Yes, it does exist. Okay, so go ahead and remove it when it clicks. Okay, and if it isn't, then go ahead and insert it. Okay, and when that shadow div is clicked, go ahead and remove the shadow window, and also remove the pop-up, make the pop-up to be hidden. So now if I click on the shadow div, so this is our shadow div, and we've set an event listener on that, saying that when that shadow div is clicked, then remove the event.target, which means shadow div is pointing to shadow div. So go ahead and remove that shadow div. So if I click on it, then shadow div will be removed, and also go ahead and toggle the class of show from your pop-up element. So currently it has got a show class, so this will be removed and the shadow div will be removed. So notice what's going to happen. Notice over here that shadow div will be removed, and also notice that this class will be removed, so it will no longer be shown. So you can see that this class is removed and that element is removed, the shadow div element is removed. So that is what is happening over here. Again, if you click on it, the shadow div element is created and that class is added as well. Even if we click on the pop-up text, that element is removed and the show element, show class is removed. So again, its visibility is hidden. Cool. Okay, you can notice over here. So I think that's pretty much it. It looks complicated, but as and when you practice and take time to watch this video a couple of times, okay, so then you should be able to get it. I've tried my best to explain it, and I hope this helps you. Most importantly, not to just create a pop-up window, but to be able to fix the problem of another element sitting on top of your pop-up element is something that we need to fix, and this is what I've shown that in this video as well. So basically, taking this approach will go ahead and take care of all the problems that you might face in future when you're working on a big project. Okay, I hope you did like the video. If you did, please do like and subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Alright then, take care. Bye.